Hey everybody, just a quick, YouTube discussion, I guess you'd say. Been listening to and following Matt Rinella quite a bit lately. Matt is the brother of Steve Rinella of Meat Eater. And a few months ago, you'll remember, this has been quite a long time ago, there was a little almost argument, I'd say, between him and Steve on the show about how Matt hates the fact that hunting has become so championed in social media. I think he's going on now. He has his own podcast, which I've listened to. I mean, he's had Randy Newberg on there. He's got Ron Spalmer on. A few other people, locals there in Montana and out west. But I really want to look at the Ben O'Brien interview we did not too long ago. And Ben O'Brien, been all over the place. Worked for the NRA. Worked for Peterson's Hunting. With Mike Scobie. He worked for Yeti. He was a marketing director. He's done all kinds of cool stuff. He worked with the Meat Eater crew for a while. Ben O'Brien's been there, done that. Cool guy. Everyman's guy from Texas. Well, from Maryland, then Texas. I think a few places in between, D.C. area. And then now Montana. It makes no qualms about how the reason he moved to Montana was because of the public land access and what his family can do and have access to year-round. Millions and millions of acres of public ground out in Montana. Millions of acres of public ground across the United States. I'm going to make this an ongoing discussion, but just to kind of start it right now. Matt. A few things Matt said when he talked to Ben O'Brien. One of the things that struck me crazy. He's very extremist about one thing, and he says this. He's very, when he was talking to Ron Spalmer, who's been around the block. A lot of people know who Ron is, and I pay to his Patreon, and really subscribe to a lot of stuff and listen to a lot of what he has to say. And he has great videos on YouTube and just great guy, great writer, smart guy. God, he knows his stuff. And he kind of started off by saying, "We need to read your bio because I don't really know who you are." That's a little insulting to me, just to outwardly be like, well, here I am asking you to be on my podcast. And it probably wasn't insulting to Ron, but, here I am asking you to join me, and I'm going to come here and really chastise everything you do. And I'm going to tell you in the beginning that I don't know who you are because and this is something he said on Ben O'Brien's podcast, and you can quote this, "I've never followed hunting media." That's what he said. Now, I find it hard to believe that Matt Rinella, growing up, and his family, who I don't know, I've never met them. Obviously, they've all been, in television and YouTube and Netflix and all this stuff, and the Meat Eater crew and all this. They've been around for a while. But growing up in Michigan, hunting, fishing, all that stuff, and I find it hard to believe that Matt Rinella's never picked up a Field and Stream, or an Outdoor Life, or Sports Afield, or a Western Hunter, or whatever it may be. He's a curious guy. He has degrees. He's smart. Surely he reads. So the fact that he makes a huge point of saying, "I've never followed hunting media," and then looking at somebody who's really kind of one of the faces of media in the hunting and shooting world, to make a point to him that he doesn't follow it, so he needs to read his bio so he knows who he is, I think that's a little silly. And there are some things he said I agree with. He said anybody who's in the hunting sphere can't take a tough stance on anything. And I think that's 100% true. I don't have cable television, haven't for many, many years. So I never get to watch things like the Outdoor Channel and whatever other channels there are that have all these hunting shows on them. Now, Matt said that he thought, Realtree as a whole was one of the worst companies ever. Because Ben said, growing up, and I'm going to say this for myself, growing up, you know, you had your Realtree Outdoors, your Mossy Oak videos, Primo's Truth videos, you know, 30 minutes, 30 kills or whatever it may be. Now, it didn't take me long to figure out that, you know, they were going to Texas, they were shooting deer over a feeder on high fence ranches. You know, I didn't have anybody to tell me that. I just figured it out on my own, which kind of broke my heart in a way. Did that make me want to watch some of the videos any less? Yeah, they kind of fell out of favor with me. But I still thought they were fine. You know, I mean, that's what we had. We had a lot of good, you know, good quality, you know, video and nice big bucks, which everybody likes to see. And, you know, no harm, no foul. They were, you know, stacking deer all over the country, you know, Bill Jordan and Michael Waddell and well, not early on Michael Waddell, but Dave Blanton and all these guys, you know, Bob Folkrod, and there's just a ton of them out there that were just doing this, and Toxie Haas and you know, Brad Harris. They, not bad guys. They were just doing what they were doing. They had things, you know, family to support, a hobby they loved, and they were really good at what they did. Good on them. I think that, though, that now it seems any of the YouTube videos I see or the hunting shows that I have seen, I mean, they are like a damn NASCAR race. You know, they're turning the side of their bottle so you can see the brand they're drinking. And they're bleeding brands and bleeding advertisements almost to the point to where here's what you're going to see. You're going to see us go to a stand. You're going to see us set up. You're going to see us shoot something. And then commercial. Hashtag whatever. And that, I totally agree with him on that. Anybody in the hunting sphere can't take a tough stance. There's too many advertising and marketing dollars at stake. And that's a shame. I hate that. Use what you like when you like. I've said that before. Take everything someone tells you with a grain of salt. A lot of these people pay for production, pay for the videos, then have to sell them to outdoor media companies, and then they have to bring in advertisers or sponsors that reimburse them the money it costs them to make the videos. And they're behooved to them. They're you know, the debtor is slave to the lender, and that's the way it works on that. You know, it's a shame. And, you know, something else that Matt said, and I kind of agree with this too, I don't understand why you get to be a celebrity because you're a hunter. Now, that has changed in the past few years, and I'm going to say within the last 5 years or less, 3 years. You know, things like Instagram, somewhat YouTube also has really made people rock stars. Now, for me growing up, it was kind of odd for somebody to know about Jim Shockey because I grew up in the Midwest. He had some videos, you know, the big old Saskatchewan whitetails and things like that. But everyone knew Bill Jordan was, Realtree. Everybody knew Mossy Oak was. You know, there was a few people, and it's not that they were famous because, or a celebrity because they were a hunter. I think they were famous for doing something and then bringing that to the hunting industry. You know, Realtree Outdoors was not an advertisement for a bow brand, a broadhead brand, an arrow brand. You know, obviously they were an advertisement and helped them sell, you know, hunting clothing. Every Walmart in the United States had Realtree in it. But to sit there and say that they were a celebrity because they were hunters, that's not true. They were a celebrity because they were some of the first designers of camouflage clothing ever. You know, Jim Crumley, like I said, Toxie Haas, Bill Jordan. All those guys, you know, they were celebrities because of that. That afforded them the ability to hunt and produce videos and go out and have fun. And, you know, I would never rag on them for that. I would definitely never say they're the most terrible thing that ever happened to hunting, or, you know, just the most terrible thing. I think that's awful. And I think a lot of credit goes to that. Now, and you know, there is some things that are said. I mean, you know, I know that Matt and Ben O'Brien, you know, Ben O'Brien asked. You know, if there was a shift and when that shift was to the Western U.S. And, you know, being from the Midwest, specifically, you know, the middle Midwest, Missouri, there's not a lot of public land here to hunt. There never has been. So for people out west where there are millions of acres of public ground to hunt, to say that there's too many people hunting it, I've been out there. I lived out west. There are some units I know you can get into that are just awful in some states. People running around on quads and four-wheelers and side-by-sides and trucks and the day of opening season. That sucks. It's fucking awful. Especially if you take time to get out there 2, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks before season, find water, look for deer or elk or whatever. It is fucking awful. That being said, people still kill big deer out there. People still kill big elk in those places. Now, I challenge someone like Matt, who grew up in Michigan, to come back to where I'm from in Missouri and find a good place to go and hunt, public ground, opening day of rifle season. It's, you hear people joke, the Orange Army. It is a goddamn Orange Army. There's people everywhere. And Matt Rinella thinks that people who lease hunting ground are evil, awful people. And okay, that's fine. But for some people, that's the way they have to do it. And I think if you want to do something bad for hunting, anything you can do to a culture of people or whatever to turn them against each other is a great way to just let it all fall apart. And I think what Matt and Ben O'Brien and a lot of these folks are doing, backcountry hunters and anglers, to some extent maybe the TRCP, some of these Western organizations, they don't remember what it was like to live in the Midwest or the East, and they're fast forgetting. If you want to have better block management access and things like that in Montana, and I'm not going to step on anybody's toes because I don't live there. I don't know. But, maybe you should limit the amount of land a person can buy. Maybe 6 or 10 or 20 sections shouldn't be available to purchase for one person. Maybe you should do that. Because here we do have farmers that own 800 or 1,000 acres, But it's not a drop in the bucket to any of the ranches you guys have out there with some of the best hunting in the West or in the country. But then here, to find public ground that may be 4, 5, 6, 800 acre piece, you may have 300 people hunting that one piece. The Ozark National Forest, that's a good place to go. It's a big chunk of ground. There's a lot of people hunting it. In my home county in north central Missouri, there is basically one piece of public ground that everybody and their brother hunts, and it's fucking dangerous. It's just dangerous. There's cars parked for miles along all sides of the road. It's just dangerous and overcrowded. I feel bad for people that have to go up there, but some people do kill good deer there. People do kill deer there. Don't get me wrong. It's just, not everybody has the same ability. Yeah, and I heard Matt say on a podcast he had with an outfitter and a fellow that he had for was it PWPL or PLPW, private land, public access, or public, whatever it was. And he was talking to an outfitter, and this outfitter's talked about a piece of ground he just leased, and Matt Rinella jokingly said, "Oh, I used to hunt that, thanks a lot." And he was laughing. But there is something to paying someone to hunt. And a lot of these people, I've been very fortunate in having ground close to me to hunt. Some are larger sections or tracts. I've leased ground before and paid thousands of dollars, and it sucks. But I've also had access to some pretty good places and some pretty good ground. And, I shot a Boone and Crockett deer a few years back. Let's see if I can get this thing turned to show you. There he is right there. It's a bad angle, but it's a great big deer. Okay? 180 inch damn near. So I shot that deer on private ground. No one else could be on but me. And, nobody was down on me for it. If it had been on public ground, they wouldn't have been down on me either. They were just happy. I was happy. I hunted for 2 straight weeks. It was the most I ever hunted solidly, or almost 3 straight weeks, I guess. Most I ever hunted solidly in my whole life, I think. Morning, noon, night, hunt. I was lucky. That is now a subdivision. 179 acre farm, beautiful place. It's a subdivision. Might say of days you saw 20, 30 deer a day. It's a subdivision now. It makes me cringe that I have a young son where he shot his first buck that that ground got sold by the family, which I understand, to an investor essentially, and they plowed under every fucking square inch of good cover, and it is now beans. I hate that. So your accessibility and your argument out west for not having ground, our ground's disappearing too here in the Midwest, but no one seems to talk about it. It's getting farmed. Go to Iowa, look for pheasants. There's no cover. Every square inch gets farmed. Around here, every square inch gets farmed. If it's tillable, they're tilling it. You want to talk about habitat, and I mean, very few people manage places. I mean, they're just lucky to have a few trees in the cornfield. There you go. That's usually what you need. But it is going away. A lot of the ground's being bought up by people just purely to hunt. So, I feel like you see this stuff out west, and it's just all about out west, all about Montana, all about Wyoming, Idaho, wherever, Arizona, Utah. It's happening all over the country. But I don't think having someone like Matt Rinella jumping on people's asses. Now, there's some people I see, what's the Bowman? No, Bomars. The Bomar people, they poached, they did something illegal. Fuck them. They're awful people. I don't like what they do anyways. There's very few people in this outdoor industry that I really like what they do. I think Randy Newberg's a cool cat. I think Jim Shockey's awesome because he's killed everything just shy of T-Rex. Corey Knowlton. I like Donnie Vincent. These guys they're cool. They're doing stuff that's outside the box, and they're getting out there and getting after it. Very, very, very cool stuff and cool people. And I don't know that really if Matt Rinella sticks by his guns, that any of them adhere to anything he likes. And you're not making any friends. And I really hate this because it's going to bleed over. It's going to bleed over. And I don't get it. I don't get it. I know, it just sounds like you're someone who's pissy because maybe they've lost some of their ground to people paying. In a rough year, we're haze high, water's, we're in a drought, winters are bad. I don't see anything wrong with it. And he thinks that anybody who leases a piece of ground or pays for something is just the absolute most putrid human that ever walked the face of the earth, it seems like. And I think it's ridiculous. I mean, the people whose places I've hunted, I've given them gifts like custom knives, embroidered clothing, nice things because it means a lot to me, and I know how special it is for me to have a place to hunt. But man, if you want to piss people off, then just start going off about this because not everybody's going to allow everyone to walk all over their ground because people mess things up. And continuing conversation. But think about it. Subscribe. Please hit that button. Like it. Comment. Please comment. I love that. I think we're facing a crisis here, and it's getting attacked from all angles. And access is a big thing. Habitat's a big thing. All kinds of things are bad for us. But Jesus, we don't need to start going off on each other because of a few bad apples. Infighting's never going to work, and I fear that's what's going to happen. So, appreciate the time. Thanks.